On December 19, 1938, Berlin radiochemist Otto Hahn, as well as two other scientists, discovered nuclear fission by splitting a uranium atom. Along with the idea of a nuclear chain reaction, the possibility of a theoretical superbomb grew exponentially. These discoveries would ultimately alter the course of military technology forever, and thus usher the world into the atomic age. In April of 1939, Germany held a committee to discuss potentially harnessing these powers. This caused Leo Szilard to enlist the help of Albert Einstein with warning President Roosevelt. Leo was a German scientist who moved to England when Hitler rose to power. He was ultimately the one who developed the idea of the chain reaction in 1933, aiding in the interest of a possible atomic bomb. The question for Roosevelt was if he should risk the Germans creating a devastating weapon or take action. If he didn't, he could possibly be responsible for thousands of lives. This prompted President Roosevelt to officially approve the building of an atomic bomb, therefore establishing the Manhattan Project. J. Robert Oppenheimer became director of the project at Los Alamos, while Leslie Groves became commanding general. However, only top scientists and officials knew what they were really building. For the next 2 years, hard work was being done on the atomic bomb. However, in late 1944, Intel came in. For the entirety of the project, it was known that America was racing with Germany to build the first atomic bomb. Furthermore, scientists were under the assumption that the bomb's target would be the Germans themselves. Yet, according to General Groves, the target was always Japan. In a memorandum written shortly before Germany's surrender, he states that the target was never the Germans, even after the Manhattan Project was kickstarted. It seems like this entire time there was a disconnect between scientists and officials. Scientists had always thought the bomb was for defense against the Nazis, but it seems that officials were looking at the Pacific the whole time, and offensively at that. Still, whatever doubt remained in scientists all left when personnel were informed that the German atomic program was in fact not close to producing the first atomic weapon. So who are they building the bomb in defense of now? Since Germany was no longer a nuclear problem, deterring them with a bomb would be pointless. This realization made scientists uneasy, one of those being Joseph Rotblat. Rotblat only joined the project to develop the bomb as a deterrent for Germany.
We did this work because we believed that this is the only way to deter Hitler from using a bomb against us, should the German scientists succeed in making it.
From the start, though, he was doubtful that the German program was developing in the first place. Still, he remained in the project just in case, even though it weighed on his conscience. When proof of Germany's lack of development came out, Rotblat immediately left. Afterwards, Rotblat went back to England, later dedicating his life to preventing the use of atomic weapons, even winning a Nobel Peace Prize for his efforts. Many scientists that believed the Manhattan Project should have ceased when the German project was no longer a threat decided not to make a stand, because they were worried that doing so would jeopardize their future career. Germany surrendered in May of 1945, making it clear that if the bombs were to be used, it would be on Japan. Earlier that month, the Secretary of War, with the approval of Harry Truman, formed the Interim Committee with top officials to aid in the decision of using the atomic bomb. Some of Los Alamos' top scientists were a part of this committee. In a top-secret June 16th document, Oppenheimer, as well as 3 other scientists, laid out their recommendations to the president. In this report, they came to the conclusion that the bomb should be used on Japan. However, what they also say is that the decision was not unanimous. This technical demonstration that some scientists proposed was shot down. It was argued that the bomb could be a dud, or Japan could have American prisoners in the area of detonation. Eventually, the committee recommended keeping the bomb a secret until it was used on Japan. They advised the president to drop the bomb as soon as possible, and without warning. At 5:30 a.m. on July 16, 1945, the world officially entered the nuclear age with the detonation of a singular bomb. The Trinity test marked the first successful test of a nuclear weapon, an advancement that came from decades of theorizing and years of building. Many scientists' reactions, like that of Ernest Lawrence, were filled with great excitement. As Lawrence himself said, "We share a feeling that we have this day crossed a great milestone in human progress." Despite this, scientists now worried about something much greater, that being the potential to use this catastrophic weapon in warfare.
We knew the world would not be the same. Now I am become death, the destroyer of worlds.
Leo Szilard wrote a petition cautioning the president of the consequences of using the bomb. Eventually, it was signed by over 50 Manhattan Project personnel. However, it never made it to Truman. With the plan in place, and the bomb confirmed to have worked, now was a matter of time until they were used in combat. At this point, it was widely agreed upon that Japan would not surrender, and that the atomic bomb would have to be used. Even though most scientists were now against it, there wasn't much more to be done. All that was left was the final decision. On July 25th, 1945, a directive written by Leslie Groves and approved by Harry Truman tasked the Air Force with attacking Japan sometime after August 3rd. On July 26th, the leaders at the Potsdam Conference issued their declaration to Japan to surrender or suffer immediate decimation. 3 days later, Japan rejected it. Inevitably, on August 6th, 1945, the uranium bomb Little Boy was dropped on Hiroshima, Japan. The impact produced an explosive force of 20,000 tons worth of TNT. The bomb on Hiroshima alone eventually killed about 140,000 people. The nuclear fallout caused many survivors to face illnesses in the years following. However, Japan still didn't surrender. 3 days later, the plutonium bomb Fat Man was dropped on Nagasaki, causing a further estimated 74,000 deaths and leveling 6.7 square kilometers of the city. Finally, Japan surrendered, ending World War II. Shortly after the war, however, some were still supporting the bomb's use, one of those being Oppenheimer. In a speech on November 2nd, 1945, to Los Alamos scientists, Oppenheimer openly supports the bomb. In this speech, Oppenheimer says that the pursuit of the atomic bomb is inevitable, and that scientists must find out what the realities are. In fact, that's what many who were for the bomb said about it. Leslie Groves wrote a book looking back on his experiences working on Los Alamos in 1962. According to him, the development of the atomic bomb by the United States was unequivocally necessary. Not only that, but he says if America didn't build it, somebody else would have, and used it to completely take over the world. This back and forth between those for and against these weapons continues to occur today. Ever since World War II, people from around the world have been sharing their thoughts. For example, Hiroshima survivor Setsuko Thurlow recently won a Nobel Peace Prize for her campaigning against nuclear weapons.
The development of nuclear weapons signifies not a country's elevation to greatness, but to its descent to the darkest depths of depravity.
Even Einstein cited his short but impactful role in atomic weapon development as his one great mistake in life. Throughout their time at Los Alamos, many scientists on the Manhattan Project started to reconsider their right to build the atomic bomb. Many knew that they would be responsible for thousands of lives, and that further development should only be for scientific purposes. Like Leo Szilard, who called for international control of nuclear arms, and increased relations between the US and the Soviet Union during the Cold War. Finally, in 2017, an international prohibition of nuclear arms was adopted. The Manhattan Project and the creation of atomic weaponry stands today as one of the most impactful examples of a right some would argue we should not have. Not only that, but its legacy will forever serve as an example of the responsibility associated with creating such devastating forces.
In good faith, with regret, I think the bomb was an enormous relief.